Okay, before we get into chapter 5, as far as the questions are concerned, I want to go ahead and just kind of give you a brief overview of what's going on here. Okay, so this is special occupancies, and at the beginning of chapter 5, they talk about these hazardous locations. Okay, it's Article 500 or hazardous locations 500.5. There's 2 full pages of explanation, and I think it's really worth talking about that before we actually get into the questions. You've got a class 1, a class 2, and a class 3. All right, class 1, flammable liquids are present. Okay, so you're talking gas stations and that kind of thing. Okay, flammable liquids are present. Class 2, flammable dust. Okay, because that could be some type of a factory or maybe a silo or something like that. And then flammable fibers as well. You could have some type of a factory where there's fibers in the air and they're combustible. These things can be flammable. We don't think about it that much, but they can be very flammable. But the main thing that we're going to really be talking about and the questions that you're going to get is your class 1, which is flammable liquids, because you see a lot of this, okay? Gas stations and filling stations, these, so, fuel storage facilities and what have you. That's what we really see most. So we really do focus on that. Now, what happens is the classes are divided up into divisions. All right, so you have a class 1, division 1, class 1, division 2, and so forth. Now, in your class 1, a division 1 means flammable liquids are in the open air, and it's supposed to be that way. You're going to have flammable liquids that are, in normal conditions, they're flammable liquids out in the open, right? Or a class 1 division 2 is flammable liquids are in containers. So that's the difference between division 1 and division 2. All right, so kind of keep that in mind, and you can read through the book, and it'll tell you in these particular sections if you want to hit the pause button and read about it a little bit and kind of highlight that. That's probably not a bad idea. All right, and then it's broken up into zones as well. You have a class 1, you have your class, you have your division, and then you have your zone. Now, I don't think you have to worry about the zones. I just want to make you aware of it just in case it does come up. And then you have unclassified. Okay, so you could have a situation where it's not a class 1, class 2, class 3, it's unclassified. All right, so you don't have to do anything special with regard to the wiring. All right, or the equipment or what have you. So this is just some basic terms that I want you to be aware of. All right, so here we go. So let's jump into these questions. Class blank, division blank locations have ignitable concentrations of flammable gas or liquid under normal circumstances. Hit the pause button once again, and then come back and see if you got it right. All right, it's class 1, division 1. Under normal circumstances, it's there are concentrations of flammable liquid or gas. All right. Class blank, division blank locations have ignitable concentrations of flammable liquid or gas within closed containers. We just went over that. Hit the pause button. And that's class 1, division 2. All right, here we go. We're going to the next one. What class or locations are hazardous because of the presence of dust, flammable dust, combustible dust? Pause, and then come back. Here we go. And it is class 2. And here we go. Class 1, division 1 conductors shall be in threaded steel intermediate metal conduit. Now there's an exception to this rule. If you have the HDPE, the high density polyethylene, you can use it, okay, if it's permitted where the last how many feet of underground run to the point of connection is in rigid threaded metal conduit. So for instance, the rule is, if you got a class 1 division 1, it's got to be in threaded steel intermediate conduit. However, you can use the PVC, high density polyethylene, you can use the polyvinyl chloride under certain circumstances if the last so many feet coming out of the ground is in the threaded steel intermediate metal conduit. So how many feet is that? Hit the pause button, come back and see what you got. And it's 2. And it's in the NFPA 70 501.10A11. You look up hazardous locations in the index and you look up the subheading and it's got your classes and you go pretty much right to it. And this is in italics, I believe. Okay, so here we go. In a major repair garage, the entire space within any pit, below grade, or subfloor work area that is not ventilated is a class what and division what. So we have a table. So hit the pause button, see if you can find it. All right, it is class 1, division 1. Okay, how to find it? Index, you go to the index, go to garages, commercial, subheading is major repair, and it's the NFPA 70. It's a table 511.3C. Note where class, division, and zone are on the table. The reason I say this is because everything on that table is class 1. And then the left-hand column is your division and your right-hand column is your zone. It's really easy to look at these tables, and you're thinking that the division is actually the class and the zone is a division because of the way it's set up. So be very careful about that. It's very easy to get that wrong, to confuse the class and the division and the zone. The tables, once again, the whole table is the class 1 usually, and then the division is the left-hand column, the zone is the right-hand column. You really don't use the zone, but you're going to want to know the division. So it's class 1, division 1. No, there may be a mistake in your code book. I was teaching somebody the other day, and it had the major garages and the minor garages. It had them to where there was not, I think it had major in both. Both of them were major, but the second section is supposed to be minor. All right, so make sure that you realize that the top section in that table is major. The bottom section in that table is minor. So they wouldn't have it twice, right? So make sure that you make that that correction there. All right, in a minor repair garage, the entire space within any pit, below grade area, or subfloor work area that is not ventilated is a class blank, division what? Make sure you look at that table. Now listen, make sure that second section that it says minor repair. If you've got 2 sections that say major repair, you're going to want to make that change. Okay, hit the pause button, see what you get here. All right, see, it's a class 1, division 2. Remember, major was class 1, division 1. Minor is class 1, division 2. So make sure that your table is correct. Okay, how are you going to find it? Once again, in the index, garages, commercial. All right, the subheading is the minor repair, and it gives you the table. Okay, once again, I want to reemphasize where the class, division, and zone are on that table as columns. The whole table is class 1. All right. In a commercial garage, a motor with an open winding such that arcing can occur must be exposed to the atmosphere must be at least how many feet above the floor? Hit the pause button. See if you can find it. Here we go, and it is 12 feet. Once again, in the index, garages, commercial, subheading equipment, and it gets you right there. It says 12 feet. Next one. In an aircraft painting hangar, a receptacle farther than 5 feet horizontally from the aircraft power plant and more than 5 feet above the wings and engine enclosure would be considered. Okay, hit the pause button and see if you can find that, baby. All right, it is actually unclassified. If you read those paragraphs carefully, by the way, and we went to aircraft hangars, subheading classification, NFPA 7513.3, paragraph 3. If you look at those paragraphs closely, if it's within 5 feet horizontally, it would be classified. But because it's further than 5 feet horizontally from the power plant and more than 5 feet above the wings, it is not classified at all. All right, so it's unclassified. That would be the answer to that one. That one's a tricky one. Okay, in a motor fuel dispensing facility like a gas station, attended or unattended, the entire space within a remote indoor pit is class and division. Hit the pause buttons. Come on back, see if you got it right. Okay, so we went to, it's 1 and 1, class 1, division 1. We should go to the motor fuel dispensing facilities in the index. The subheading is classification of locations, and it'll get you to where you want to be, 514.3B1. Once again, watch those tables for how everything's organized. All right. You're going to hear me talking to you while you're taking this test. All right. All right, in a motor fuel dispensing facility, the area between 5 and 10 feet from the open end of a vent in an above ground tank is classified as class and division what? All right, hit the pause button and see if you can get it right. And the answer is class 1, division 2. This one's a little bit tricky. How to find it? Once again, motor fuel dispensing facilities, subheading, classification of locations. All right, and then we've got it gives us our reference there. Now, if it's right there at the bottom of the page, and it's between 5 and 10 feet, is a class 1, division 2. Once again, you got to be careful about everything on that page is a class 1. Left-hand column is your division. Right-hand column is zone. Okay. So if you were going to put a electrical outlet between 5 and 10 feet, you would have to treat it as a class 1, division 2. All right, in that instance. All right. In a motor fuel dispensing station in a boatyard or marina, conductors shall be in threaded steel intermediate conduit. An exception to this rule is that the high-density polyethylene shall be permitted where the last blank feet of an underground run to the point of connection is in rigid threaded metal conduit. We just saw this a few minutes ago. I'm sure you probably can guess this one, but hit the pause button, see if you can find it. And the answer is 2 feet. Okay, so we look under motor fuel dispensing facilities. The subheading is underground wiring. All right, and it'll take it in, and you can find it in table 514-8. Caution. Subheading marinas, boatyards, and docking facilities will not lead you to the right place. Okay, so in this one, you got to go to underground wiring, or you'll be going all over the place if you go to that marinas, boatyards, and so forth. Okay, let's go to healthcare facilities. On current carrying conductive surfaces of fixed electrical equipment operated over blank volts shall be directly connected to an insulated copper equipment grounding conductor that is clearly identified by green insulation. But what's the voltage? That's what we're looking for. It's over a certain number of volts. See if you can find that. Healthcare facility. All right, it is 100. So we look up healthcare facilities, subheading wiring, okay, wiring and protection. All right, then there's a subheading of fixed electrical equipment and grounding of receptacles. And I got to tell you, this section right here in the index is very, very involved. All right, so when you're going from your heading to your subheading to your subheading to find that key word called fixed electrical equipment or phrase and grounding of receptacles, it can be a little bit interesting. And by the way, and I didn't mention this before, but it's not a bad idea to be highlighting your index as well as highlighting what's in the manual itself. That'll help you as well. Okay, let's rock and roll. In a critical care space, each bed location shall be provided with a minimum of how many receptacles? Critical care. Hit that pause button and come on back and see what you got. Okay, you should have got 14. In the index, healthcare facilities, your subheading is wiring and protection. Your subheading is critical care areas. And then we go, here you go, it gets you pretty much right there. 517.13B13. Woohoo! All right, in a hospital, a 70 amp circuit serves a 3-phase isolation transformer. What are the colors of the conductors in order? Hit that pause button. This one's a little tricky. Okay, so here we go. It's orange, brown, and yellow. How are you going to find it? Well, you go to isolation transformers, and then it tells you to see transformers isolation. Okay. And then we have a subheading called healthcare facilities. Now, the second reference is 517.20B. Now, this is where you have to look in the paragraph, and it refers you, that paragraph redirects you to 517.160. All right, and that's where you want to be. That's where the actual answer is. Or if you stayed in the index, the 8th reference under the subheading healthcare facilities is in a PA 517.160. The problem is you don't want to go through all 8 references. All right, so if you were highlighting this in your index, you would probably just want to highlight that 8th reference, that 517.160. And that's where you're going to get those colors right there. And I think we're talking 70 amp because a 15 or 20 amp circuit, there's actually a different requirement. So that's why we're talking 70 amp there. Okay. Moving along, each receptacle of a DC plugging boxes. Each receptacle of DC plugging boxes shall be rated not less than how many amps? Use that index and see if you can find this one. Here we go. It's 30, and you just go to plugging boxes. And then Motion Picture Studios. That's the whole reference right there in the index, and it'll get you right to 530.14. Pretty easy one to find. Most of these things are findable by going to the index, so make sure you use that index, obviously. Okay, for stage lighting, the first 50,000 volt amps of feeder demand shall be calculated at what percent? Okay, so if you've done any load calculations for buildings, you realize that once you get the total voltage requirements of everything in the structure, then you usually the first so many volt amps are at 1%, the next are at another percent, and so forth, and down the line. So in this case, when you're talking about stage lighting, the first 50,000 volt amps of feeder demand shall be calculated at what percent? Okay. Hit that pause button, come back, and we'll take a look at it. And it's 100%. The first 50,000 volt amps are figured at 100%. And you go to stages, comma, motion picture and television, takes you to 530-2. Okay, this is a 2, not an 11, a Roman numeral 2. So that's part 2. Once again, I know we talked about this before, but it's worth taking another shot at it. There's different parts, and this is when you've got a Roman numeral, that means it's a part of an article. Okay, so then you scan, and a quick scan gets you to table 530.19a, and that's where it tells you the first 50,000 volts are calculated at 100%. All right, in a manufactured building, cables shall be permitted to be secured only at cabinets, boxes, or fittings where blank gauge or smaller conductors are used and protection against physical damage is provided. Oh, I hit it too soon there. Sorry about that. And it is 10 gauge, and the way we find it is we go to manufactured buildings. On relocatable structures, there's a subheading called wiring methods, and that's at 545.4, and that's 10 gauge. Okie doke. Where animals are housed, an equipment grounding conductor is installed underground, and it must be what? Where animals are. See if you can find that one. Hit that pause button. And it is insulated. Okay, the answer is insulated. This one is not easy to find. Okay, I was struggling trying to find this one. So you go, first of all, you go to agricultural buildings. Okay, now the subheading you're going to use is wiring methods. But even then, when you get to it, there's lots of paragraphs there, and you got to go to 547.5F. It's insulated. Okay, that is where animals are housed and the equipment grounded conductor is installed underground. And the thing is, you got to realize anytime they're talking about animals, we're talking agricultural buildings. That's the key phrase that you need to learn and remember. Okay, what the type of wire used for equipotential plane bonding in a structure used for housing animals shall be blank and not less than blank gauge. Okay, so we're talking about the agricultural buildings again, obviously, right? Okay, hit the pause button, see if you can find it. Okay, not such an easy one to find, but it's you go to agricultural buildings, your subheading is bonding. The second reference, 547.10, is where you want to go, and it is paragraph B. Solid copper and 8. Okay, a mobile home attachment plug shall be blank pole, blank wire, rated blank amps. Hit the pause button, see if you can find that one. And it is 3-pole, 4-wire, 50 amps. You just go to mobile home. The subheading is power supply. Okay, this one doesn't jump right out at you. You got to search a little bit for it. And it's 55.10C. 3-pole, 4-wire, 50 amps. In a mobile home, a single disconnecting means shall be provided near where? Hit the pause button, see if you can find it. And then you go to the index under mobile home. The subheading is disconnecting means, and it's 55.11, and you read paragraph A, and you'll find it is near the entrance of the supply cord. Woo-hoo. All right, in a mobile home, the laundry area shall be provided with a blank amp branch circuit. Hit the pause button. See if you can find the answer. All right, it is a 20 amp. Once again, you go to mobile homes, the subheading would be branch circuits, and the second reference there gets you where you need to be, 550.12C. It just tells you 550.12. You got to read through to paragraph C. Okay, the service equipment in a mobile home shall be in sight of and not more than blank feet from the exterior wall of the mobile home. You know what to do. Hit the pause button and see if you can find the answer and come back and see if you got it right. And the answer is 30. And once again, it's really simple to find. Mobile homes, subheading service, 550.32A. The disconnecting means of a mobile home shall not be located more than blank feet above the finished grade. Now, these are some interesting 6.6, 7.2, 6.8, 6.7. This is probably the oddest number answer of any of them. Okay, hit the pause button, see if you can find it. And there you go. Mobile homes, once again, is in the index. The subheading is service, 550.32E, and it's 6 feet 7 inches.